He go, what are you doing? And I go, nothing. I'm going home. I go, what do you mean? Um, and at that time, he looked at me and then sucker punched me. And then I'm like, really? And then now I'm kind of leaning over in my vehicle towards the passenger seat. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he shut your car off. As soon as I shut the car off, he started walking back. I don't even think he grabbed my license. By the time he got back, he took a few steps, and by the time he did that, he turned around and reached for my door and yanked it open. Well, at the time, I had a 92 Buick Regal, and the car seatbelt is actually connected to the door. So when he yanked it that fast, it automatically activated the seatbelt, and it stopped and jerked back. Once that happened, I reached and I locked the door, and I go, what are you doing? And he was like, you need to get out of the car or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting out of the car. And he's like, you need to unlock the door. And I'm like, no. And then he reached in and punched me again. And I'm trying to lean back over into the passenger seat. By now, the other detective that was in the car is trying to reach for me too, and was able to like pull me over my window. So now I'm in my seatbelt in my car, and I'm over a portion of my window, and they got my arm out the door, and he just punching me in my face. And then I can see the other detective move around the car and then try to start tapping at the window with his gun or whatever. I can remember him, the other detective that was tapping on the window, coming back, hitting me a couple times, and then he'll go back to the car trying to like jerk the other doors open. Eventually, it seemed like I heard sirens coming. So I was like, okay, eventually, this has got to stop eventually. When the other police got there, I was still in my seatbelt in my car, outside the window, kind of like on this side, with both of my arms out like this. And
the officer was holding you,
yeah,
trying to pull you out of the car?
Basically, they was just holding me. After a while, they stopped really trying to necessarily pull me. It was just them holding my arms like this and just punching me in my face, just nonstop, laughing about it like it was a game. Once the police pulled up, I can remember looking up and seeing that it was actual officers there in uniform. And I told them, I go, I wasn't resisting. I go, they beat me up. I go, I wasn't doing anything. And that was when the detective told him, yeah, he resisting. And that's when the other officer put out the taser, and they tased me in my armpit 4 times and was laughing about it. I go, I want to speak to the supervisor. And I go, as soon as you take me downtown, I'm telling what y'all did for real. And then the one detective told me, he like, oh yeah, you can say what you want to, but I'll see you again or whatever. And then he took his gun like, oh yeah, I'll see you again. He like, what you think you gonna do for real? He like, I'll catch up with you like that. And I'm like, it don't matter. I go, I'm telling as soon as I get down here. I'm like, somebody need to do something about this. And she was like, we'll see. And then she took a couple pictures, and that was it. When the paramedics come, because I still had the tasers under my arm, in my armpit. When the paramedics come, they don't really care what's going on. I'm trying to tell them what's going on, and somebody yanked the tasers off and under my arm and say he resists the medical, and they leave.
And that wasn't true that you said no, to medical help? No. And
then I remember at that point.
How were you feeling physically?
At one point I remember thinking to myself while they was hitting me that, like eventually, as long as I just stop resisting, and not try to fight them or nothing, that eventually they'll stop. But I thought they was about to kill me for real. Like, I thought that was it. My face was just deformed at this point for real. They had beat me, and The whole underarm of mine was like green and swole down to almost midway in my stomach. And I can't remember a whole lot from there to when they had to send me out to Metro.
Do you feel like you distrust the police more because this happened?
Oh, most definitely. Cleveland police, and what has been going on there for years now, no, nobody trusts the police out there. And it doesn't matter if you black and white. The people that are supposed to serve us and protect us, whether they be police officers or detectives or judges or whoever they may be, should be held to a higher standard and not a lower standard than everybody else. And that's what's dividing everything. No, you can't trust police.